Who's the deep state? Well, it's twofold. It's a partnership. I believe corruption is the biggest industry and most profitable industry in this country. Ready? Have you ever seen so many politicians getting rich? Remember, Biden, the son's in Ukraine. Ukraine's the laundering center. Listen, I'm ass deep in Russians, I know, and I've told you this many times. That's why President Trump's over there. He's looking for their money. Why? To leverage them. Hey, remember, I'm going to get back to that, but both sides are corrupt.
Okay, we're away, ladies and gentlemen. This is just a quick video for patrons. I just want to keep you updated. I have to take my time. I have to get my head around this Mike Gill. James O'Keefe did not resign clearly from Project Veritas because of people don't like him or he's meanie and he took a sandwich away from an 8th-month pregnant woman. Mike Gill did that interview on the 5th of Feb with those people who I'm not particularly impressed with, who claim the Jesuits run everything, and they're nuts. They hate Catholics, which makes me wonder about their religion/ethnicity, whatever. But they're not the best. And I mean, I thought I swore. Those guys swear nonstop. They're bad. They're bad for Mike. I've mentioned it, just said, look, those guys are bad news. They need to tone it down. Ask them to tone it down because they're going to alienate a lot of people, and maybe that's the plan. But they're pieces of crap anyway, and I don't want anything to do with them. I've been chatting to him for 2 days solid on Twitter. I put him onto a few people, and hopefully I'll do an interview with him. We'll wait and see whether that transpires. But let me give you the quick rundown because it's so big. It's huge. Basically, he's uncovered a giant cartel. It's the K. Griggs cartel. It's the retired military cartel. It's the Kissinger and Associates cartel. It's the Jared Kushner, Chabad Lubavitch, Russian-Israeli mafia cartel. And he's uncovered the one in New Hampshire. They run the airports, they run the state police, they run the FBI, they run the DEA. All of the officers are in there. And strangely, everyone around there is a libertarian. James O'Keefe libertarian, Roger Stone libertarian, that Aaron Day libertarian. Remember when they moved 20,000 libertarians had come to New Hampshire? It's a freaking drug trafficking operation. Luke Radowski, the libertarian, Tim Poole, well, I'm kind of a libertarian. They were up there in Virginia somewhere. You could really start connecting some dots here. But here's the money shot. Here's going to be 10 minutes where Mike Gill is talking to Patrick Howley. Who's Patrick Howley? He worked at Breitbart, then he went to the Epoch Times. Well, that's Roger Stone's best buddy. You know Roger Stone's out of Rats in the Rank, linked in with growth hormone, bodybuilding, gay for pay, steroids, ecstasy, cocaine trafficking with his friends out of DC. This network's so big, and here's the rough. They offered him $50 million in proof, in writing. Liberty insurer said, "We'll give you $50 million. You've got to sign a release." It's all the lawyers, it's the IRS, it's the banks. I mean, if he's just a nut putting up, Bill Sheehan and Chris Sununu and all these people whose father worked for George Bush Sr., Chief of Staff. Yeah. So if he was a fake, they wouldn't be offering him $50 million and telling him to shut up. It's huge. It's the story of the decade. It's a story of the last 100 years. My God. It's a giant drug trafficking ring hooked in with political operators, the Republicrats. So it's Democrat-Republican, which is Republicrats. And instead of Donald Trump, and this is what worries me with this story, that this will feed in and benefit Ron DeSantis. That's why we got to link in Kissinger and Associates and the gang. The Goldman Sachs boys, because you can't do all of this without the assistance of the drug money launderers out of Goldman Sachs et al. You can't do it. Because I don't know Ronnie DeSantis of the COVID jab benefiting from this at all. But the fact remains, instead of going and exposing a giant drug trafficking ring with General Flynn and Sidney Powell, that piece of shit, 2 of them. Sidney Powell, I mean, seriously, dear God. Fakes and frauds. So instead of putting it up and bringing down a giant drug trafficking ring and cleaning out the swamp, they used it for leverage. So Flynn and Bannon, Corey Lewandowski, Roger Stone, Donald Trump knew. Instead of going up and cleaning it out, they went up there and used it for leverage. And that's why Mike Pence was flying to meet Sununu, and they turned the plane around. And then Donald Trump comes out and says, "Oh, you'll find all about it in 2 weeks." And suddenly he says, "Oh, Sununu, you've been very mean to me. You hate me. You're one of the top 5 most popular governors, but you hate Donald Trump, the Don, man, you hate me. Well, then suddenly Sununu comes, oh, no, we love Donald Trump. Because they leveraged Mike Gill's info. They offer him $50 million. He refuses. Man, God, the man's a legend. I really identify with him. He's a badass, man. And I don't say that lightly. He is a badass. He refuses the $50 million. He's got all the documents, all the people wanting to sign on. It wasn't just individuals. It was banks, insurers, the IRS. It was incredible. But the Trump train didn't use it to clean out the swamp. They used it to take it over. They used it to take over New Hampshire and take over the operation and to get the support for the Republicans. This is a scandal so big, it's freaking huge. My only problem is I don't want it benefiting St. Ronnie DeSantis. That's what worries me. It's big. Let's watch this 10-minute segment, and then I got to get back and get a big show in my head clear, because it's like, geez, my head's spinning with. I kind of relate to him too, because your case is so big. You're just reeling off names. You know it. You've lived it, and other people are trying to understand it, but it's big. Okay, let's go. I will pop in every now and again just to make a comment.
Then how he went to work for Epoch Times. See, he's maintained that course. Shaheen in the IRS, Corey Lewandowski. Do you think he's going to help? Now, Corey Lewandowski now is going to run for senator in New Hampshire. We got a problem. We can't announce, because Mike Gill was his contact. He knows the evidence. Howley turns around now and protects them, just feeding them right back. You're going to see that Lewandowski has a secret meeting with Sununu, or a private meeting. You'll see the post, not secret. Why? Because that's the deal. Trump saved Sununu. Sununu is not only going to support the president, it's going to support Lewandowski. Listen, they want to take Shaheen out, Senator Jean Shaheen. She is the deep state. But they put their own people in. See? No one turned around and took out a drug cartel in the billions. They could have built that wall. No one turned around and went after the IRS and said, how dare you extort the American people here and use criminally? How can the DEA support and sell drugs? Right? That's what's going on. Nobody gave you that. They're playing politics. Now listen, you ready? By following that path, you would have got Sununu, you would have got the banks and the banking commissioner, and you would have got your money laundering. What's going on is the Ukraine is the laundering. Why do you think there was a post where Clinton turns around and said, Trump gets elected, we're all going to jail?
Yeah, this is important. You remember this? Even I thought, what's that about? Just sounds like a casual comment.
Why don't you ask the question? You know why they're going to jail? Because they've been stealing and robbing and laundering.
You're talking over $900 billion. $900 billion with a B.
Listen, it isn't the hardest thing is stealing the money. The hardest thing isn't getting the money for protection. What's difficult is where do you put the billions? Which is why you need a Ukraine. Which is why I also have one of my witnesses. You'll see a video called Message from the...
Just remember, this Ukraine thing. All right, this is Kissinger and Associates and that whole Kay Griggs network she talked about, all the retired military generals. It's the same network, the old Meyer Lansky network, building up all the cash. It's Israeli Russians. See, I said to Mike, you know that Russian that tried to knock you off, you wrestled with for 10 solid minutes with the knife. I said he's probably Russian-Israeli. Once you link Russia-Israel, and Mike gets it, you go, that's interesting. So I've been trying to switch him into this network. You came up against the network described by Kay Griggs, Kissinger's front and center. Front and center. Alex Jones front and center, Roger Stone front and center, the whole stinking lot of them. There's only one. This is so big, I can't describe to you how big this is. It's Kissinger and Associates, et al., that network, just in one state. They run on the airports, they run on the states, they run on the feds, they run on the DEA, they run on the IRS, they run on the bank, St. Mary's Bank. It's all linked in with that network, and it's America-wide, you can guarantee it. It's just like Iran-Contra, it's just like Mena, Arkansas. It's like they moved Mena, Arkansas and Barry Seal up to New Hampshire. It's mind-blowing. The trouble is Mike hasn't had the help he needs. Like, this needs a professional documentary maker. It's huge. The guy's an animal, man. He's fuck. I don't say this lightly. I admire this guy big time. And you've never heard of him. And Alex Jones ain't saying a word. Owen Schroyer ain't saying a word. Tie in Dr. Steve Pachenik, Cressinger's old right-hand man. I told you, rats in the ranks. Drug dealing, steroids, growth hormone, ecstasy, cocaine. Sheriff Israel, remember Sheriff Israel? Chabad Lubavitch, implicated in drug trafficking. Member of the Democrat Party hanging out with Roger Stone, the Republican. They're all one. Patrick Berge exposes the links between Roger Stone and General Jim Jones' son, his son. And I've got the footage where he's on Alex Jones going, I don't know General Jim Jones. He just said General Jim Jones. He never said he knew General Jim Jones. He said he knows General Jim Jones' son, who runs the day-to-day operations of Denology, the data analytic company, the private military intelligence company. That's what he's talking about. Stone's there front and center, that rat, that vile rat. He's not he's just for hire. He'll work for any side. Paul Manafort, Ukraine, all going through General Jim Jones. Denology, private intelligence networks, data analytic companies, ClearForce doing social media, profiling people, clearing them for corporate jobs and high security clearances. This is the K. Griggs Generals Network. General Jim Jones, former head of NATO, you better thank Patrick Berge for man, this was the, 2023, Pluto's in Uranus. Sorry, Pluto's in Aquarius, not in my anus. It's incredible. I'm just sitting there going, holy hell, this is huge. This is really, really big. And you know what, patron friends, I will put this on YouTube because I want to do the big video and I want to give you the first week because you're the one that pays my bill. So I'm going to put this up on YouTube just to put a shot across the bows. I don't care whether Mike Gill talks to me or not. I warned him there's all sorts of crap will be said about me. He understands how it works. It's not a problem. And I said to him, and if people do come up to you, you'll have a good idea of who's who in the zoo. But this guy should have really high-quality people. Maybe Whitney Webb, but then Whitney Webb's a part of the little Kissinger and Associates deal, hanging with Alex Jones, Joe Rogan, Arch Zionist, Glenn Beck, for crying out loud. I mean, give me a break. That's the network. That's the Limited Hangout Network, covering all the time, all the time. They're trying to take over the New Hampshire operation. The Libertarians are all moving to New Hampshire. Well, Tim Pool, Luke Radowski, and then every time they talk drugs, they start licking their lips. It's a drug trafficking network. Clay Clark, the former DJ nightclub guy, rave party guy, yeah. Ecstasy trafficking. K. Griggs. Oh, who does Whitney Webb like talking to? The ecstasy trafficker with the Mexican cartel, Sean Atwood. Look at that network. Look how it roams. Look at all the cross connections that are going on here. It's not random. Wow. Clay Clark, ecstasy dealer, guaranteed in the drug trade. What have I told you about the evangelicals and their 40,000-seat stadiums, their drug money laundering operations with the Israeli-Russian mafia, the big evangelical movements? Because you can go there and give $1 million, $10 million in cash, in a brown paper bag. And because of their tax status, they can say, a humble servant of the Lord has donated cash. They don't have to declare it. You see? It's a donation in cash from a humble servant of the Lord, which does not want to be known. It's one giant drug money laundering operation, all the way back to the City of London, all the way Pandora Papers, Panama Papers, all the way back into that banking system, all the way into Deutsche Bank, all the way casinos, BB. Oh my goodness. Oh my, and Western Australia, where I had all the problems. Kerry Stokes is besties with who? Kerry Packer's son, who's besties with BB. Kerry Packer running Crown Casino. Oh my Lord, the network at operation. It's not the cartel, it should be called the network. K. Griggs, hook it all in with K. Griggs. My goodness. Let's keep going.
A cartel, a guy named Paris Sparrow. International. Every month, this guy's in Moscow. in Dubai, Istanbul, and he owns a tiny pizza place in a seasonal town in Maine. Hello? Russians, guns, drugs. It's a marriage of all of it. It's laundering.
K. Griggs, drugs, drug money laundering, and guns. My God, as soon as I started listening to him, this is K. Griggs. This guy's a legend. I want to shake his hand. I have to meet him. This guy's a hero. A hero. $50 million. Just go away and leave it alone. No! Stubborn son of a bitch. Love him.
And drug and machine with the Russians, the cartel, and the pharmaceutical companies throughout this country, which is why fentanyl, and you'll see the truck full of fentanyl in factory boxes. Okay. So now let's think. I had each and every one in place. FBI, DEA, everything. The president knows, and which is why he kept using in his campaign speech. Lewandowski was my contact. And now, just last week, I met Howley, and now you know who Howley is. You know who Brady is. You know who Epoch Time is. Are you telling me the president doesn't know? Of course they know. This evidence. You see all these emails?
You see all these emails? We'll keep going. Remember Whitney Webb's dad? What's he? A property developer. Remember my case with the Curtis Olson, the billionaire, and his moronic lawyer, Eric Kennedy? With my friend in a huge case, same network. It's the same network, bribing judges. It's huge. Stratton, Grimes, Bigelow, Spear, all out of California, had their asses handed them in the California Supreme Court. It's huge. This is the network that bribes judges. Now, what does Mike Gill say, which really sums it up? They sell protection via the courts, so you're never convicted. The judge lays it out, everyone's paid, the transcripts are altered, they've got everyone in the network, everyone in the line. Boom, that's you, Curtis Olson, you're next. Lenny Dykstra, his little scumbag golf buddy, the former Met star. That scumbag. We have so much dirt, so many recorded phone calls. There's going to be a West Coast connection with Curtis Olson and Eric Kennedy, Buchalter, Jean-Claude Andre. I think he's now going to be a New York federal judge now. Handed their asses to them in the California Supreme Court. Thank God, if you can get to the Supreme Court, California Supreme Court, you might get some justice. But my God, they tried to hide the case. My friend was involved. They literally hid it. 3 female judges in a sexual assault case. It was unheard of. Not for publication. Got everything. This is huge. This is how it all ties in. It's just going ping, ping, ping like a Tetris, all falling into place. It's incredible. This is the K. Griggs Network. My biggest worry, though, I don't want to feed St. Ronnie DeSantis. So just remember, Ron DeSantis will be in there somewhere too. Don't worry about that. With his 19 friends, thank you to the people that sent that who go over to Israel. And no one can find the information. Who'd you meet? What'd you do? This was an official government visit. Same network. Same network. They got upset because Trump and the gang said, hey, let's just take this over. We're not going to fix it. We're going to take it over. Now, you might think, well, politically that's smart, but I'm sorry. This is a gigantic drug trafficking operation feeding fentanyl to your kids. It is the swamp of swamps. You don't play politics with that. You clean it out, and Trump would have gotten there anyway. Did they just try to take it over for the money? I do not want to see Ron DeSantis benefit from this, that little prick. Kissinger. So let's keep going, another 5 minutes. I'm sitting here going, oh my God, this is so big. This is freaking huge. And no one's talking about it. Nobody's talking about it.
Mike Gill, State of Corruption.
Emails and the settlement offers.
And who offered you a settlement?
Liberty International.
Liberty International, who's owned by Liberty Insurers. So he's going to tell you. This is very important. Listen up.
The lawyers of Morris Mahoney. Now, Morris Mahoney pretended to be my lawyers to get through statute of limitations. That's what Marisa will tell you. You ready? They offered me $50 million on the settlements.
All recorded, all in documents, emails, you name it. So they're offering him a settlement. What? Because he's nuts? This is when he was putting them all up as drug dealers on giant billboards throughout New Hampshire. It's incredible. I love this guy. This is why I wanted the money to be able to do this with banners and trucks and flyers out on the street. I begged, and all I got were crazies and white nationalist scum. I said, give me your ID. I want to see your passport. Oh, no, I don't want to. Yeah, because I know who you are, you little rat. Couldn't get anyone to help. Friends of Bannon appeared. Wanted to hook me up with Adam Green. There's the network. Adam Green's girlfriend's best friends with one of Joe Rogan's friends. Who told us that? Matthew North, the little white nationalist guy, did a lot of good work. Very respectful. Stayed away from me according to my wishes. Sorry, Brendon, I know you don't like white nationalists and that, but you need this info. Little Matthew North committed suicide. Knew all about Joseph Davies, Fred Smith, Skull and Bones, all contacting us. FedEx. George W. Bush's buddy. George, are you seeing this all come together? Whitney Webb. Oh, what a tangled web we weave. And who's Whitney Webb's daddy? Richard Webb IV in Sarasota, Florida, drug money laundering capital, doing $300 million land and property details as a corporate lawyer. Why do I smell a dirty, filthy rat in that? You don't get on Glenn Beck, you don't get on Alex Jones InfoWars without a clear force clearing from their social media guys. You don't get on it, period. Whitney Webb is going to disappear. You watch. I'm coming under so much pressure. I have death threats. I must be safe. I must don my apron and my hoe heels and return to the kitchen where it's safe. You watch, mark my words. Julianne Romanello trying to hook me up with the Flynn gang. Now, admittedly, she doesn't like Flynn or Clay Clark. I did like Julianne. I think she's just been very naive. She strikes me as extremely naive. I wish I'd handled a little bit better, but I was freaking out. Don't involve me. We've just spent months talking about grassroots. We'll take their money. The funders of Flynn, yeah, give us the money. We'll fix it for you. Trying to get me across into the US. It's not happening. Not now. Maybe in 20 years when the movie comes out. All right, I wish I'd been a little bit gentler with it too, admittedly. But enough of this horsepucky. Don't sit there and tell me grassroots all the way and then try to involve me with those people. You see this unfolding, and of course, if you're new to this, you won't understand what's been going on for how long now. I'm not just some idiot with a channel. I've done some serious stuff. I've hung out with friends of the foreign minister in Iran. We've been to Lebanon with Sufyan. We've done all sorts of stuff. I'm not intelligence affiliated, but there's clearly people giving me big thumbs up along the way, calling ahead. Yes, you're welcome in Lebanon, Brendon, at the Malaysian Immigration Center. Malaysian Immigration Office. This is huge. Wow. It's going to take me another 2 weeks to digest all this. Come on.
In what context did they offer you a settlement? You were suing them?
No, he wasn't suing. He said, were you suing them? He said, no, they just wanted to settle. He said, I wasn't suing them. I was going to put him in jail. Love this guy.
What they did was, by covering all that up, I wasn't suing them. I was trying to put them in jail. I was using Morris Mahoney, and you'll hear recordings saying...
And that's what we're doing to Curtis Olson in California and his lawyer, Eric Kennedy. We're coming for you, boyos.
Because they could get me a case with the FBI. That's what they were for.
Right, so once he started heading towards the FBI, they started to panic and say, we've got to pay this guy off now, $50 million. Who wouldn't refuse that, eh?
They sat on it to get past that statute of limitations. It turns out Liberty, who offered the $50 million, is their biggest client in the world. Okay? So they are on it, and that settlement is signed. Now think about this. You know who's on that settlement?
They've all signed the settlement except him. That's gold. That's cut and dried right there. That's how big this is. If you had to explain to someone, that's the point. There's a settlement. All these people are signed on it. All you have to do is sign this $50 million, say no more. That's it. Walk away. Incredible.
Bill Shaheen. You know who's on it? The banking department, the banking commission, the Department of Revenue.
Listen to this, Department of Revenue, banking departments. This is incredible. It's all, you can see the screenshots.
Every lawyer that I had through the divorce, through the business, all requesting their releases.
Wow, that's just what happened to my friend. It was a sexual assault case and it just turned, they thought they could get rid of her with all their paid off judges. It's the same network and I guarantee it's drug money laundering through billionaire Kurt Olson Nexus Group. Oh, I can't wait. It's going to fracture everywhere. You watch this.
Including the IRS.
Okay, so just go back to this. So how do they offer you a settlement if you're not suing?
There it is. Why? How about this? I didn't have to sue them. I just was going to put them.
See, that's what he's saying. Well, why are they offering you a settlement if you haven't sued them? It's not. I'm not suing them. I'm sending them to jail. They're just desperately trying to pay me off. That's what he's trying to get across. Look at Patrick Howley's like,
in jail.
So they preemptively offered you.
What happened was, when they turned around and I caught them, they wanted me to go, and I have recordings, Nick Alexander, to go to a hotel room, never to meet all the other people involved. And they wanted to settle. And I said, I'm not doing it. Simple put. And you'll see the emails to verify that. You ready? I said, I will not give you a release. It wasn't about the money. It was about the releases. And you'll see coinciding emails that saying, I wouldn't take it. You'll see a tape from Married from the Mob. The woman was there to offer me $50 million, and she admitted it.
Just to be clear, in offering you a $50 million...
Remember the guy Patrick Howley interviewing him, his best buddies with Roger Stone. They took all of this information. Imagine what he's just... Mike Gill, look what Mike Gill just gave them. It's huge. They took that information to the opposition and said, we want Sununu. We're going to expose all this. Now you love me, don't you, Uncle Donnie? Huh? Donald Trump, Chris Sununu. His dad, Mike Sununu, was what? George W. Bush's senior chief of staff. That's the network. Hello, Fred Smith. Hello, George W. Bush Jr., who you visit. No wonder you were trying to keep me online and stop me spreading this stuff too. That was your other thing you were up to. My God, it's a freaking witch's cauldron going on here. I mean, we all know what goes on. We all know there's this, it's not just bit of corruption here, bit of corruption there. The whole freaking state's involved. So what else is going on? And it's right up there in New Hampshire, right across from the Canadian border. Oh, the Canadian border where all the assassins of Lincoln go and where all the KGB assets come in. So it's probably not just drug money laundering, drug trafficking and all the rest. It's also intelligence-based, and I reckon they're bringing across sleepers and all sorts of things across that border. All sorts of activities going on. Let's finish.
Settlement, who specifically offered you that?
Liberty. Here it is. Now understand this. What they do is they wanted me to, what it is a stipulation and confidentiality agreement. Don't tell anybody. Now let's take a look.
Wow, confidentiality agreement. Here's $50 million, shut up, walk away. They'd probably kill him anyway.
Right? The wife's attorney, my attorney, all these attorneys.
See, his wife said it all started with a divorce settlement. That's when he started going, wait a minute, this is all this corruption. What's going on? It's exactly what happened with my friend via a sexual assault case.
Look, Matt Kozel, Alex Walker wants a release.
Oh, Sheehan. I hope I get this right. Let me. Where are my notes? They're outside. Wait a minute. Wait for this. The kingpin is Bill Sheehan. There's Judge Jericho, Judge Tucker. Where is that bit? See, the cartel sells protection via the courts. That's why I keep saying to you, you've got to clean out the courts. Not just politics, it's the court system. They own hospitals, drug rehab centers. I heard about this going on in my own home city. And I thought, that's far out. No, it's not far out. They're dealing drugs through the drug rehab centers. The pharmacies. If they didn't own the courts, they couldn't sell protection. Quote, Mike Gill. What else? So James O'Keefe put his own personnel into Mike Gill's company. Then James O'Keefe, after that interview, takes a leave of absence. Now you know it's nothing to do with him taking a sandwich off an 8-month pregnant woman and people don't like him. Here, Bill Shaheen, big player in that whole New Hampshire drug trafficking ring. Represented Maxwell, Ghislaine Maxwell, he represented her. And that's why, and Sheehan controlled Sununu. Maxwell moves to New Hampshire, she wasn't hiding, and buys a house there in New Hampshire. That's the Epstein drug trafficking. Chabad Lubavitch, Jared Kushner, Roger Stone with his best buddy. Remember this guy? Do you remember this? This is from Rats in the Ranks. And I also got it in Trump versus Corona, video 5. So, Broward Sheriff, dirty trickster, forge unlikely tie. You got Mr. Republican conservative just found Jesus, who's a libertarian, just like all the people that are moving up to New Hampshire. There's Sheriff Israel, the Chabad, a campaign operative who built his career on smearing political enemies, publicly calls women the C word, and consulted for attorney-turned-Ponzi schemer Scott Rothstein, has become one of Sheriff Scott Israel's trusted political guys. The sheriff's relationship with Roger Stone is a bond of contradictions, tying Broward's highest-ranking Democrat with long-time Republican-turned-libertarian good old Roger Stone, drug trafficking, Chabad Lubavitch. But wait, there's more. Israel told the Sun Sentinel that he attends the Parkland Chabad and he is comfortable in churches as well as synagogues. His wife Susan is Christian and they raise their children in both religions. And what did Owen Schroyer say? What did Owen Schroyer say? What did Owen Schroyer say about that? I'll leave it in the other video. We'll put it in the other video. How about that? This is a nest, baby. People are going down. No one's getting out of here alive. Nobody's getting out of here alive. This is huge. You know it's huge because everyone's gone silent. You're seeing the magic right here. This guy's a legend. You better praise him. You need to push him on every social media platform you can get. The trouble with Mike is he's got PTSD. The guy's been through hell. I totally relate. We're very similar. Bulls at gates. Never give in. F you. Punch him in the face. This guy needs I can make a doco. I'm not for it though, but he needs a professional. No more bullshit. A real professional. This is a Netflix movie series. This is a Netflix movie series of epic proportions. You are seeing history. I'm not exaggerating. As you watch this on YouTube, you are watching history unfold. This is going to be huge. I just don't want St. Ronnie of the COVID DeSantis to benefit from this. He's right in there with BlackRock. He's right in there with Peter Singer. He's right in there with Goldman Sachs. They're all involved in the drug trafficking. General Jim Jones. Denology. Come on, people. Let's get a few more up. You remember that image which no one will repeat. A picture speaks 1,000 words. It is the most damaging image on the internet right now. General Jim Jones, former head of NATO. Patrick Berge exposes him as the founder. He took all that taxpayer-funded money for the interactive internet activities. Online psychological warfare. They experimented in Afghanistan and Iraq. They brought it to the United States. General Jim Jones, his son, also called Jim Jones, runs the day-to-day operations, and his son is friends with Roger Stone. There's Rupert Murdoch. That's ladies and gentlemen, that's Tucker Carlson's boss. Tucker Carlson is not the old media. The billionaire globalist. Okay? Rupert Murdoch. Tucker Carlson's boss. Tucker Carlson is writing blurbs on the back of Alex Jones's The Fourth Industrial, the Great Reset book. With who? Tucker Carlson, with Joe Rogan, with Steve Bannon, ONI. Over here is his best buddy for decades and decades, Heinz Kissinger, right arm of the City of London. And there's the Atlantic Council, Fred Kemp. If you can't tell me that no one will repeat that image, nobody's repeating that image. It gives the entire game away. It's not right, left. They're all friends. Well, you don't think Heinz is friends with good old Hillary? That's an image from Rats in the Ranks. Your partner is close personal friends to my boss, Jim Jones. His son, Jim Jones, also called James. That's Paul Manafort on his way to Ukraine. There's Russians, Ukraine, they're all the same. It's Kissinger and associates. And no, they're not in Ukraine over this. They were in Ukraine to prevent the teaming up of Germany, Russia, and China. And I guarantee you, HNA Network, it's all in video 5. Trump versus COVID. Remember the 16 tons of coke? Video 5. Trump versus COVID. Go and watch it. Remember when in the previous videos, General Al Gray, Kay Griggs, he was all running Woodstock. They put up Woodstock, put all the drugs in, like Clay Clark, all the raves they put on, all the Christians selling ecstasy and dope. The evangelical movement, drug money laundering through these giant churches with their 40,000 seat stadiums. It's one giant drug money laundering ring. You got Stone. He knows General Jim Jones' son of Denology. There's Robert David Steele, that moron whose daughter Beth Ann Steele is the PR in the FBI. The man who said that they're kidnapping children and taking them to Mars as sex slaves, a complete fraud plant, who wrote the memoir for General Al Gray. He was a NATO Marine, CIA psych warfare trainer. That's Robert David Steele. And they were having lunch together in that restaurant, him and Stone. All admitted. Jason Goodman exposed it. Are you seeing the pattern? Now, who is Robert David Steele's sidekick? That would be George Webb. Let's get this pattern up very quickly. There you go. George Webb talks NSA, Jared Kushner, Israel, General Michael Flynn. They talk it because we force it out of them. All right, there's his best buddy, George Webb, that bullshit artist. Sly God, he's pathetic. He's, oh, Brendon doesn't like me. Oh, wonder why, George. So there they are together. There's the network. Okay. There's the network. Who's that? Well, that's George Webb with Cynthia McKinney. That's Whitney Webb's new friend, former congresswoman, who's saying, Brendon, you have a body of work to be proud of, but I'm sure as hell not going to mention your name ever. Okay. Now what's the next step? George Webb, Cynthia McKinney, Whitney Webb. And there we go. George Webb is with Daniel Hopsicker, who did the expose on Whitney Webb and Mint Press News and exposed her father, Richard Webb IV, multi-zillion-dollar property developer, lawyer, down in Sarasota, Florida, drug money laundering country, and where Muhammad Atta and the gang were hanging out for all those years because she threatened to sue him. What a little web of intrigue, everybody. Oh, my goodness. Are you seeing what I'm seeing? If the internet was real, we'd be onto this with 500 people. We'd clean them out real fast. Common denominator, never mention O'Connell's name. He's not cleared. He's uncontrollable. We'll keep sending him down there to see if we can't offer him a fig leaf. Where's my $50 million? Because let me tell you, unlike the great Mike Gill, I would take the $50 million and I would run. I assure you. Just burn that image into your brain. Burn it in. I bought this to you. Thank you, Susan. If Susan had not said, hey, you got to stop. Steele's not a fool. Have a look at his bio. And I said, he's a fool. He says children are being kidnapped and taken to Mars. I'm not going to spend 5 minutes on that fool. No, Brendon, look him up. I went, holy hell. Thank you, Susan. I owe Susan big time at some stage. We disagree on a lot too, I might add, but it doesn't matter because we're old school. Susan and I and a lot of other people, we're old school. We were all raised on the Bill Coopers of this world, the Ezra Pounds, the Eustace Mullins, the Reverend Ted Pikes, the Professor Israel Shahaks, all the good stuff, the Jack Bernstein's Life of an American Jew and Racist Marxist Israel, all the classics, the Fletcher Proudies, who's now suddenly Alex Jones is bringing up. We were raised on all this stuff. We don't say, oh, you're not part of my social media influencer group. I can't talk to you. No one cares. Yeah, I disagree with this and this, you idiot, but that's all right. We agree on this. Let's go for it because we all want to survive or we won't have a ship to fight over. You look at that image behind me there. You look at that image and then you look at this image. Don't you ever forget that image. Not one of those bastards will tell you a thing. Not one of them. They're all whores. Every last one of them. Oh, look, everyone, Dr. Steve Pachanik, Kissinger's right-hand man, worked with him in the State Department, and the handler of Alex Jones and InfoWars is retweeting Whitney Webb stuff. Amazing. Who is Dr. Steve Pachanik? Well, that's that guy there. You won't see him on InfoWars anymore because we kicked him up the arse that many times. They're not game to have him on. He is Owen Schroyer's mentor. And Owen Schroyer does not want to talk about the real reason that good old James O'Keefe has left Project Veritas. But Pachanik's old boss, Heinz Kissinger, are you seeing the linkages? These are not shallow linkages. These are incredible linkages. Someone called the police. Okay, let us finish with a bit more from Mike Gill. 5 more minutes. My God, I'm nearly peeing myself with excitement. Okay.
Justus, Maria, all these people want
So these are all the lawyers, all the people on the $50 million settlement.
to release. And what for? All right? Markman, Divine Miller, Lisa Tracy. She was my controller, the one that was working for Shaheen. Tim Powell. He was the head of the IRS from Portland who told me that it was Gene Shaheen.
Former head of the IRS is on there.
Think about that. His name's on that release. They know he told me.
So who's Liberty?
As an insurer, you ever heard of Liberty Mutual?
Yeah.
You know who the parent company of Liberty Mutual is? Liberty.
So the parent company of Liberty Mutual offered
Liberty,
you.
yeah. It is Bill Shaheen, by the way, on the
They
settlement.
wanted you to sign a contract saying that you wouldn't talk about this kind of corruption anymore.
So don't talk about the drug trafficking and the money laundering anymore. This is incredible. That's Roger Stone's bestie. They all shut their mouths and left him to rot. And then you got January the 6th instead of Trump swooping in. And the other thing is, excuse me, what Mike has really made me understand is why did he get contacted again all of a sudden by good old Michael Flynn? And he said because they wanted to show, oh, we just got this information now. No, you didn't get this information now. You had it for nearly 4 years. They never used it. Well, they were using it, just not publicly. They went up there and said, hey, you better give us the support now. You know, all the drug trafficking and killing all the kids and the fentanyl and stuff? Well, we're not going to publicize that. We're just going to use this. We're going to use this information to get political leverage. That's low, man. That's low. But I do not want that little prick, Ron DeSantis, benefiting from this. He's right in there too. He's right in there too. Now it puts a new thing on why Kissinger and Kushner wanted Trump out. Why did Kissinger and Murdoch say, get him out? I think that's directly linked to this. The fallout from this is going to be so big you have no idea. It's the story of the freaking century. It's so big you can't get your head around it. I know the US is not in Ukraine over this. Completely different reason. We'll go into that in the big video. Let's let him finish.
Drug running and stuff like that.
Right. All done.
And
So I could.
This company, Liberty, was going to pay you $50 million to get you to stop talking about this.
Boo-ha. That's correct. Roger Stone knew. They all knew. They said nothing. All the libertarians want to move up there. Let me guess. They decriminalised, legalised pot and drugs, and Alex Jones and his Israeli friends. You know who leads the world in a lot of the marijuana and pot growing legal in America? They're Israeli companies. They specialise in it. I bet you Roger Stone's right in there with the Russian-Israeli mob. Right in there.
Settle. Well, not just stop talking, settle for any potential claims. So, well, and they say that. A settlement, a global settlement to aim, and look at all the people who are on this.
Global
These
settlement.
are witnesses.
Gold.
Look, William McCully, Divine
This is the money shot right here.
Milliman, Wiggins and Norrie, Internal Revenue, Banking Department, DRA, Friedman,
So these are witnesses for who?
and it's signed. No, these are all people asking, this company's asking for releases.
So these are all people saying, please don't involve us, please don't talk about us, just shut up and leave us alone.
Every attorney, every accountant, every single one needed a release. You know why? It was one giant operation. How was that giant? Because every time they wanted me to settle, I said no.
There's a list. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. Story of the decade, the last 100 years. This is huge, highest levels. Drug trafficking, drug money laundering, child sex trade, fentanyl. I mean, this is the Kissinger and Associates break up the country method. Then they're going to break it up into little principalities and little oligarchs and little 15-minute smart cities. That's what they're doing. This is all part of that giant project, and $930 billion in unaccounted for monies. $934 billion. Are you kidding me? I'm going to end it here. I'm freaking out a little bit. When I finally watched that, I went, wait a minute, because I only listened to it before. I needed to see the visuals. I was doing my exercise up and down as I listened. I thought, wow, I've got to put something out on. I'm going to have to put this on YouTube straight away. But, you know, Mike Gill needs professionals now. He doesn't need foul-mouthed idiots who want to blame the Jesuits for everything. Yeah, of course the Catholics are involved. They infiltrated everybody. Masonic organisations infiltrated. Local government bodies infiltrated. US government bodies infiltrated. They're in everywhere. That's the point, including the critical infrastructure. And that's the thing that'll switch the lights out. Watch out. Lights go out, forget COVID. That'll be a cakewalk. Lights go out, nothing moves, nothing goes. It's chaos. It's instant martial law. So watch out. While we're all talking about freaking Chinese bullshit balloons and alien invasions, this is going on. Mike Gill's sitting there with the story of the freaking century. And those people that are currently pushing him, look, those guys have got foul mouths. They're not investigative journalists. They're morons. Anyone running around blaming the Catholic Church and the Jesuits for running the planet? Amazingly, the Catholic Church can't keep their pedophile rings out of the news, but they run everything. Okay, and Italy's falling apart and Rome stinks. The economy's going down the tubes while Israel booms, but Israel don't mention Israel. What's the one word that none of them will mention? Israel. Fancy that. What do you go to jail for? How do you suddenly have a heart attack? How did my sister die of a stroke? Oh, it was Israel. I don't know if I go out after the Jesuits and the thing. What, are you going to blame Jim Condit Jr., that legend who exposed all the Masonic infiltration of the Catholic churches and Vatican II? They're getting rid of all the beautiful old relics and the altars and they were throwing them in the garbage tip? Infiltrated. Catholic Church's been infiltrated for the last 100 to 200 years. Thanks very much. You get anyone like that Barry Chamish idiot who Daryl Bradford Smith handed him his ass in an interview. I wish I could find it. Barry Chamish hung up the phone when Daryl Bradford Smith, crazy Daryl, I love Daryl Bradford Smith, the French connection, just handed him his ass, asking very simple questions. I just pray Mike gets away from those people. But whatever, that's Mike's business. And he needs all the exposure. What did he say? I don't need money. Well, he needs money, but he says, I need a platform. You've got to get this out there. It's not just about Mike Gill. Yes, reward Mike Gill. The guy's a legend. I mean, he is a real hero. He knocked back $50 million and he could walk and keep his money. And they just ruined him. They took everything. That's what they do. Only trouble is, hope you learnt your lesson, boys and gals. When you take something away from everyone and they got no future, I can't go back to my career, my name is mud, you claimed I wanted to kill all the Jews and the most ridiculous garbage. You see what happens? Give a man nothing to lose, look out. Have you learnt your lesson yet? Well, I'll tell you right now, someone offered me $5 million to walk, I would have walked. So I'm a bit ballsy, a little bit of a hero. Yeah, but I'm just really a stubborn son of a bitch. But let me tell you, Mike Gill to walk, he would have retained he already had a considerable fortune, and he would have walked with an extra $50 million. Who would have knocked that back? That guy needs a medal. Get this everywhere, people. And I pray that Mike will get with sensible, serious people, whoever they are. Maybe Whitney Webb will do a show. As I said to Mike, I guarantee you, Damage Control, that fat pig, disgusting Alex Jones will call. I said, look, go on, use him. Because they're going to have to do Damage Control. If Whitney Webb turned up, she'd be kind of perfect, given her public persona, but I know what she is, the public persona. She'd be good for this as well, wouldn't she? I'd go with these people. That's my recommendation to Mike, but just be careful of the plants, because there's a lot of them, and they're always going to promise you the world, and they never quite give the full story, do they? Do they? Just not quite. And that's the great danger. Support Mike Gill. Get him he needs a good platform and quality people. I don't know who that is. I'm certainly honest, but I don't have the energy to make a documentary. He needs a proper documentary done. This is huge. Kay Griggs, the military, retired. It's the old network, Kissinger and Associates, ladies and gentlemen. George Soros was always a bullshit decoy. It was Kissinger, and our group got Kissinger back out there front and center, screaming and screaming, Kissinger and Associates. It's their private network, thousands of people employed directly, coming through that company with all their networks all around the world. They don't send emails. They don't leave paper trails. They jump in a private jet and they fly and they whisper in your ear. Him and Yuri Primakov putting Putin in. The multipolar world order, the key, the BRICS, they were breaking up the planet into 4 sections, set us against each other, build the smart city system, Gulag system, lock everyone up, introduce robots and drones under a Cold War scenario, build it via taxpayer funding of the high technology sector, then turn them at us at Agenda 2030. That was the plan. And here is a core element of that conspiracy right there. These are the princelings and the quislings, right? They're running a whole state. They'd be running the smart city up there. That's what they'd be doing. And they'll decriminalise and legalise drugs and it'll just be one big orgy. Do whatever you like. Just don't lobby. All right, I got to put this up on YouTube. Thank you, everybody. And I will leave you with the great F. Scott Fitzgerald. It ain't over till the moderately obese lady sings, ladies and gentlemen. It ain't over. It's just beginning. 2023, Pluto is in Aquarius, in Uranus, or somewhere else. It's coming. This year's going to be a big year, and I don't believe it's going to be all bad. We hope and pray it's not going to be all bad. Let's get a little bit positive. This has kicked me in the butt. My God, it's all meant to be. Those who have eyes to see and ears to hear, God bless you all. Let's talk again soon. Till then, the great F. Scott Fitzgerald, I think.
What's up, y'all? I'm the last man on Earth. Shit's all fucked up. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We out here. Ah!
Don't forget to like and subscribe. F. Scott Fitzgerald and the great Bill Cooper. F. Scott Fitzgerald, quote, "The test of a first-rate intelligence is the ability to hold 2 opposing ideas in the mind at the same time and still retain the ability to function. One should, for example, be able to see that things are hopeless and yet be determined to make them otherwise. This philosophy fitted on to my early adult life when I saw the improbable, the implausible, often the impossible, come true."
What is our common bond truly? Freedom. Freedom. Without freedom, you can't be a Christian no matter what denomination you belong to. You can't be a Buddhist. You can't own a donut shop. You can't drive from here to Oregon. You can't be an American because that's what it's all about, and it's the only thing that it's all about. Nothing else. Nothing else. It's about freedom.